In this segment, we'll hear the story of HM2 Daniel Sickman, who was deployed as a corpsman in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom for 9 months. He'll talk about his experiences in Iraq and what it was like to seek and receive help for post-traumatic stress disorder. I asked him about his unit's combat experience.
We were the medical support for 1st Marine Division, and the idea of the golden hour was we were supposed to be within an hour of the actual battlefield, which kept us pretty close to the action. We were the first medical unit through the North Breach Point into Iraq. We really didn't get this set up until we got further into Iraq and things settled down, because 1st Marine Division was moving just way too fast for us to even catch up to them.
And I understand that actually your unit was attacked numerous times during your deployment.
Our first ambush came on March 28th, which was in a town called El Shatra, and that was the beginning of pretty much, that just broke the seal. From March 28th probably till the official end of the war, every time we moved, every time we transported, we came under heavy attack.
Can you tell us about some of the experiences that led you to seek help?
My gunner who was on the roof, he was shooting a Mark 19, which is basically a machine gun that shoots grenades. It jammed, and a live grenade dropped down into the vehicle, and my private who was driving has no idea. Ignorance was bliss. He did pick it up and throw it out of the vehicle, but in the meantime I exited the vehicle, and I was pinned down for a good 10-15 minutes of AK-47 fire until I was able to get back into the vehicle. Once I did get back in the vehicle, we had the opportunity of turning around into the kill zone. We actually turned around and went back, and that's when several individuals approached my vehicle, and they were as close as I am to you, and I unloaded my magazine into a 17-year-old kid. He had to be, around 17 years of age, and I killed him, and I didn't think twice about it until later on. The second thing that got me the most was a close friend that I worked with at the hospital. I was trading DVDs at the Agdad, which is basically like an airport in Al Qut, and a Hummer drove up, had several body bags in the back, and the Marines all stepped back from the body bags because that's bad juju. They didn't want to touch them, so they asked me to go and read the tags off so they can write down on the flight manifest which bodies are going back to Kuwait. And I paged through, and I noticed a name, and curiosity got the best of me, and I unzipped and I looked, and it was one of my friends, and he was a corpsman, and he died, and that hit me hard. Even though I seen a lot of Marines that are hurt, and the majority of the Marines that we treated did survive, and this one in particular happened to be a CB that did not survive, and there wouldn't be anything that we could do for him. He just happened to mess with some unexploded ordnance, and it tore him in half, and he just came to us gasping, and it just nobody would treat him, nobody would go near him, and a friend of mine out there, actually my gunner again, me and him wrapped him up. We put him to rest. He was still had his eyes open. I closed his eyes. I did his fingerprints, and his arms were still up from what was left of his arm after the explosion went off, and I just tucked him away, and I categorized and put in a catalog all of his personal effects, and I saw a picture of him in his Navy ID card, what he looked like, and now what he looks like, and then the picture of his family. And it's like I'm responsible. I'm gonna have to send this home. It's like sending a hate mail. It's like someone is going to go to this person's front door. This letter is going to get to this person's front door, and they're going to see this. This is what happened to their child, because he was 18.
Can you tell us about some other experiences that were disturbing to you?
Being with an STP and being set up, the Iraqis assumed that was a hospital. So anything that was going on, and we were supposed to treat any injuries that we inflicted. And one of those such injuries was on a child. We had 2 separate children come to the STP. One of them was a boy, and he had been run over by a Humvee, and I intubated him, and we started all the advanced trauma procedures on him, but there was nothing we could do for him. And I mean, he's a 5-year-old boy, and it was like he was dead because we were there. and that bothered me immensely.
You mentioned that your unit was attacked multiple times. Did that make you begin to be hypervigilant, very guarded?
Well, there was definitely a heightened hypervigilance, but there was also this feeling of disregard. I really didn't care what I was firing into, and I realized that 90% of the time when I'm looking into these towns, it's kids. So it came to this inner battle of where I did not want to shoot, but then again I didn't want to shoot and kill an innocent person, and I didn't want to shoot and kill a child. So it was confusing.
What was it like leaving that environment of combat and returning home?
I landed on March Air Force Base and walked off and I was expecting the world to be there to thank us. I was expecting for what we did and what we went through to have like a great welcome home. And considering Desert Storm, I definitely considered a bigger welcome home. But after that, I just figured walking through the streets and going to the supermarket that nobody gave a crap about anything, about what went on over there. It was day normal for them, and I hated them all for it.
Now, did someone meet you?
My dad was there, and he came up to me and gave me this hug, a hug that he never received. He said, "This is for the hug that I didn't get because he was in Vietnam. When he came home, nobody gave him a hug." So the first thing he did was he gave me this big hug that it felt like it lasted for a lifetime, and all that stuff went away for a while, all that stuff I was thinking about. I mean, just with the drive home from Camp Pendleton to my home, I had anger issues because people were in my way, you know, and how dare they? And the whole way home, he was talking to me. He's like, "This isn't proper thinking. You're not thinking right. You know, you're home now. You can't do what you did over there."
Tell us about some of those feelings that he recognized might be a problem for you.
The first part was I was very anxious to get home and purchase a big bottle of Crown Royal and start drinking. And once that started, the anger got worse. And I wasn't drunk at the time, but I took my dad for a drive around Mission Beach, and this guy cut me off. I got out of the vehicle. I walked up to his vehicle. His window was down, and I reached him and grabbed by the throat. And I tried to pull him out of the vehicle, and I tried to beat him to a pulp because he cut me off. Because I couldn't turn that off. I couldn't turn that anger switch off. I had to be angry all the time. I had to be alert all the time. I had to kill all the time. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, you can't do that. You have to be civilized. I had a hard time being civilized. I still do.